Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I am your hostess and your melanated queen. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about the job cuts. And there has been a significant of job loss for melanated females. And I think I touched on this video a few days ago, but I'm bringing it back up because as of 3 days ago, CNN reported on this. And I wanted you to hear the dialogue between these melanated females that were talking about this topic. So I'm going to play this video for you and I'll add my commentary on here in just a moment.
Jobs market. Pay attention to the black unemployment numbers. That's not my guidance. That's the guidance from economists and experts who know much more about this than I. But let me explain. Right now, the U.S. unemployment rate is at 4.3%. We just learned that very few jobs were added in August, about 22,000. That's not good. If you were to describe this via text, you send a red alarm emoji. Now, for black workers, the data is worse. For now, another month, the unemployment rate is going up. It's now 7.5%. That's the highest it's been since October of 2021. And it's a number we've been watching ever since it was 6.8% in June. It's two alarm emojis. You dig even deeper, and you'll find that black women are disproportionately struggling right now. The jobless rate for black women is at 6.7%. The last time it was that high, September of 2021, back during the pandemic. Add one more red alarm emoji. Why is this happening? Economists have told us that when we see the unemployment rate going up for black people, it's a sign that it could soon go up for all people. And as our CNN business team explains, black workers are disproportionately employed in frontline and lower wage industries as well as the government workforce. So what comes for black people first often comes for everyone. And you know, those good government jobs have been a tool for black people to build stable livelihoods, especially for black women. But the federal workforce has been a target of this administration, along with immigrants and diversity initiatives. We have a lot to talk about. So joining me this morning, LaTosha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund, Stephanie Donegan, a former Republican candidate for the Georgia Senate and founder of Your Rich Life Media and the Stillwell Society, and Dalila Paul is the national editor of the news site Capital B. Welcome to you all. Stephanie, let me start with you. 22,000 jobs in August. June revised down now, the first month of job losses in 5 years. The president promised the golden era for America. Where is it?
I mean, ultimately, we have to just be honest and say it doesn't look good, which I know people don't expect me to say, but the reality is right now, because of all the cutbacks in the federal government, it is going to hit black women disproportionately right now because of how much we are employed. That being said, I do believe that it is going to bounce back with the new businesses and new jobs that will be coming, but I think we need to give it time. I don't think we've given it enough time.
That's something we heard from the Commerce Secretary as well. Let's play what Howard Lutnick said.
All right, so it looks like they went on a little brief commercial, which we're going to skip past that. Now, she had some interesting dialogue, and it was her and another lady on there kind of going back and forth amongst one another. And I thought it was very interesting how sometimes when people don't have understanding, and you'll be shocked to hear what she had to say, you all. All right, so I'm going to skip past a portion of this, and I'm going to turn it up so y'all can hear.
And against Donald Trump, and that's got to end. So you can't replace somebody, 2 weeks ago, and you expect fun.
All right, so there's a guy on saying you can't replace, someone in the White House for 2 weeks and expect to change that quickly, right? So.
Tasha, he says, give it time.
The challenge with this is that when you look at black women, we, in particular in terms of women, we are, in terms of participation in the labor market, we're 60% more than all of our women counterparts of the labor market. But what's interesting in federal jobs, we're about 11.7%, which means that's in parity of our population, right? But when you look in the private sector, we're less than 1.8% when you look at higher management jobs. So what we have seen is that federal jobs have actually created a pathway in our opportunity, that black women, it demonstrates that when black women are given an opportunity, that there are federal protections that allow us to matriculate, that what you see is that we're able to get representation. What he's saying around that we're supposed to just play on the market, but what we're seeing is an underrepresentation in the market, that oftentimes we're underpaid in the market, we're in entry-level jobs, you do not see the same kind of economic stability that we've seen with federal employment.
I saw your facial expression.
Because ultimately, a lot of the hiring I feel that's happened within the federal government was to check boxes for DEI, not necessarily because this was just perfect for them. And I only say that because of how many black women have been employed. And I think that's part of the reason is we're seeing the layoffs that we're seeing and the unemployment, because that's how they got hired in the first place.
You know, I think the interesting thing about that is that in terms of federal jobs, that is merit-based, that people actually are able to keep their jobs or even to literally ascend based on being merit-based. You don't see that in the private sector. So I think it's really to say that black women working in these jobs is to check a box. It ignores the fact that that is a merit base.
Well, to a degree, because I do know for federal government, depending on what your history is, if you have worked in the military, if you're black, you do get extra points when it comes to hiring. And so being black in general will push people up when it comes to hiring. Being a black woman will push people up when it comes to hiring.
Yeah, can I pause? I think we have to think about the impact. I mean, the fact that you have hundreds, thousands of black women who are out of jobs.
I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on that rhetoric. I do agree with the lady in the gray blazer, more so the one in the black blazer. I think she basically has a disconnect at what's really going on out here in the job market for melanated females. And that's because, like I said, I've been working since I was 15, and I've seen a lot of things in the corporate sector, things that are very unfair to melanated females. And I, just like the thousands of other females, was affected during the pandemic throughout the job layoffs and job losses. So when people make these statements, I think they're making blanket statements based on maybe just their one experience, and they're not taking into account all of the melanated females out here that experience similar situations, because I've spoken to so many people in different arenas and different walks of life in different parts of the nation, and they have all experienced the same thing in this job market and this economy. Let's keep listening.
Women from the age of 40-something, 50-something who are caregivers for their families. We've had reports. We have interviewed women who are struggling right now. So I hear what you're saying about the checking of the boxes, but I think we're losing sight of the human impact of this.
Actually, I agree with you on that. I actually feel that it's quite unfortunate that that has to happen, but we cannot continue to keep people in jobs to keep a payroll going. I think that's unfortunate.
But that's not, again, I have to disagree with you. I think a lot of the women who have been losing their jobs have played critical roles in government.
But if it was
and it's
really
beyond
critical,
DEI.
if it was really critical, they would still have their job. It wasn't that critical.
No, they don't have their jobs because now there's a policy in place that really has been racialized. It's not. We're looking at a space that how were they able to ascend? It wasn't about the checking of box. It was hard work. It was. We know that in a culture as in America, when have black women ever been given something just because we're checking a box? The women, we are the cornerstone of this economy all across it.
Well, I hear you, but I can also say that one of my first jobs was for the federal government, and I was very clear that I got pushed up ahead of people because I was black and I could check the box.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's a gender economist, Katika Roy, who calculated between February and July that 319,000 black women lost their jobs in the private and public sector. In that same period, job increases for white men was 365,000. There were 176,000 job gains for Hispanic women. There were 142,000 job gains for white women. And so when you suggest that these black women were in jobs to check a box.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? To check a box? That is kind of insulting, don't you think, when melanated females are the ones that go to college and get multiple degrees and go to school, work, and sometimes have multiple jobs. It's not that melanated females are lazy, but melanated females go through a lot of discrimination in the job market. So let's not pretend like we don't know what's going on. And they are the last to get hired and the first to be fired. And they are underpaid and undervalued and mistreated in the workforce on top of that. So let's not act like we don't know what's going on. I cannot stand when people act like they don't know what's going on. Let me turn this up for y'all.
Other demographics and
Hold on one second.
jobs, while the hundreds of thousands of black women were just there to be pushed along and check a box.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. Because
Okay.
ultimately, I think we all can agree that DEI has not just helped black women. So that's in the first place. DEI has helped minorities, women, white women. DEI has helped not just black women, but when it comes to the conversation of federal workers, with us being such a large percentage of federal workers.
It's deeply insulting to say that. It's deeply insulting that when you're looking at federal workers, we make 11.7%. That's just in parity of our population, and so that there you have 80%. Of more of people that represent different segments of society. So to suggest that black women, in some way, that our presence in the federal government has come from just somehow we are checking the box, really undermines the fact that we have been the cornerstone of the labor market in this country.
No, it doesn't. It just looks, that's the way you want to see it. It doesn't. Ultimately, black women were not the only people who were laid off. It's just that the conversation we're having today is around the large percentage of black women, and that is because of how many black women are employed federally. But ultimately, when we talk about people who have still been employed, who have been hired of other ethnicities, of other races, I know for sure, I've seen the conversation on social media of people saying that they're not going back to work yet. I've seen the conversation of people saying that they're going to sit on unemployment. I've seen the conversation of people saying they're going to start businesses. And so ultimately, I don't even think the numbers are completely correct yet. And I don't know if we're going to know that for a few months.
Dalila, let me get you in here, and I'll bring this, that black women bore the brunt of the job losses during the pandemic. They bore the brunt of the job losses of Doge. And so as we look at this continue in private sector as well, what's that mean on a community economic level, on a home economic level, with black women disproportionately being head of household in many homes?
I mean, it's the ripple effect.
We know what that means. It means that it affects your life. And why are women saying they're not going back to work? Melanated women are tired of being harassed, targeted, discriminated against, overworked, underpaid, undervalued on their jobs. They're tired of this, so this is why they're starting jobs. This is why they said they're going to sit on unemployment, because they need a mental, emotional, and physical break. They are tired.
It's the fact that people can't pay their mortgages. People can't afford to take care of their parents who are sick. They have kids in college. But I want to also mention how, just back to her point about the jobs, the Department of Education had a large amount of black women who were laid off. Many of these women worked in the civil rights divisions. These offices investigated discrimination against black students. There are these real consequential ripple effects that are happening professionally and personally. And we have to keep that in mind.
So do we not think that these jobs will come, as this coming to the state, the Department of Education coming to the states, are we not looking at it as though the jobs will open back up? Are we not looking at it as though it stopped on a federal level, but it will move to a state level? Are we just ignoring that fact?
No, what we're looking at that households are being impacted. What
So
we're looking at
are we going to continue paying people just because we feel bad for them when those show that these divisions...
No, this isn't about feeling bad for them. We're saying that there are credible workers who have actually contributed and continues to
But
contribute
in
to this
departments
country.
in which we've shown waste. So we can't keep
But how have we
on
proven
in waste.
That's not been proven.
We've got to pause here. Latasha, Dalila, Stephanie, thank you all.
Yeah, I wish I was on that panel, because I could have told that woman a thing or two when she wanted to talk about wasting. So basically, you're saying paying melanated females on these jobs are a waste, when some of them are some of the highest and top achievers on their jobs, I being one, meeting and exceeding departmental goals, having the credentials, going above and beyond, trying to be, best employee you can, not missing days out of work. You remember I told you about one of my former managers was hired for 30 years, never missed a day. And what did she get? A certificate, you all. So I don't want to hear this nonsense that she's talking about feeling bad for people. This is not about sympathy. This is about having empathy. And until this world gets it together and stops targeting melanated people, and especially not having empathy for melanated females, there's going to be a ripple effect where other people will be impacted. And then once they're impacted, they're going to want someone to actually understand where they're coming from. So I don't blame these melanated females for starting businesses if they're sitting on unemployment or they're collecting resources the best way they can, because they have built this nation. Their ancestors have built this